So first of all, do you understand what I mean about this courseware now? So it'll be like videos, there'll be some questions that are asked that they answer right, and then some tools that they may use, like these video backgrounds and stuff, and then some kind of activities that that form this culture that they then can use when they're engaging another person that's also been through the program. Okay, and the whole point behind this is that we have different people that have different ways of looking at things and framing things. So how do we come to some kind of common consensus, the common place that we can agree upon and then build knowledge upon and work towards. And then in the challenge here, I'll say this again, is we want a safe space that enables vulnerability, which normally doesn't come naturally because of the hostile psychological environment that we're in. Just look at the US Senate or any government process these days. And so you want vulnerability, but because vulnerability is so difficult and requires trust, quote and unquote, is we create barriers or boundaries. And then vulnerability, having an open, vulnerable space is antithesis to boundaries, because openness it's like boundaries a fence, and once you have a fence, there's no more openness. Right. And then if you lay in boundaries, especially if you have someone that's open and someone that's boundaries, then you end up with manipulation. Because it's all interpretation and all this other stuff, which is, for me at least, why, coming back to these three levels of, just the underlying awareness, I surrender, there's just our shared experience of this moment, and then, and so they're not boundaries, but they're framings. So if you start telling me about your past or how you feel about something, well, and we have to look at each one of these layers of engagement, because there I'm not telling you what you can or cannot say, but we're having agreed upon reference points, things that language are pointing to.
Yeah.
And so, there's the stuff that's being ideally having this for the university stuff. And then B is this next level thing of systems that we build, like Meta. And so anyone that comes into Meta, their onboarding process would be to go through this too, because we want to create healthy engagements within people coming in and having it agreed upon. So, hey, I've read this, I understand this, I agree to these terms, click, it's like, okay, you're in. And so as we engage, yeah.
And I think I got enough of the warm space to be able to, let's say, plug that in as some of the activities that can come out of whatever they're doing, right? And then we could have, use warm space to set it up in a way where they go through the process.
Yeah, or we could do warm space flows, through something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that would be great too. So I can talk to them about that as well too.
Yeah, and say that we, if we can, set up this curriculum and then use their product as one of the main function. I mean, I think they'll love it, and get some practice going. Once we got it set up, then do some practice runs.
Yeah,
see how it works, and no, it's exciting. There's we'll just see. I think I got it. I got it.
Okay, and then what's your status right now? Where are you at these days? So you got your cards together. Wait. So before I go into that, so for Meta right now, so the video, send me a link, And then this thing that we're building will also be part of the onboarding process for all these meta things that are they're doing. And I'm writing the document for that. And so there'll be like a collection of people. There's going to be like a token, a treasury, and all this. And then we're designing the tokenization, the gamification of how this community is going to come together.
Nice. Nice.
And and so for this, Peter is going to be involved, you know, and for me, I'm just recording. And so what we're doing, and the reason why your recording is important, is we've decided we're going to build this also using this as a framework. And so he's got a video, and I'll ask him to send you a link as well too, but of the video that he recorded of me talking about what we're doing. And we're doing two things. One is creating this platform, which you're involved with and everything. And then the other thing is I'm doing an instance of it here in Hong Kong around Web3. So we're going to get people that are in the Web3 community, and we're going to build a community of people in Web3 using these Web3 tools as the way to do it.
Okay, nice.
And so, and the reason I'm not involving you in that is because we're trying, the way I see it, there's going to be like a local version of this, and there's going to be, actually there are three. There's going to be a local version of this, which is like Hong Kong. There's going to be a global version of this. And then the third is a corporate version of this. Like even I'm looking at doing something like this right now at PolyU in my school, because the culture here is broken. So so the idea here, again, what we're doing, inspired by you too, is since you record all the meetings, there's documentation, which is kind of like blockchain as well too. And so we can see the genesis of ideas, bring people in. So you're creating lore. It's like Star Wars or Star Trek. You know, we can talk about, you know, if I mention trouble with tribbles, or, you know, some Klingon thing, or, you know, if I mentioned, you know, it's been a while, but, you know, they started a new thing with Captain Pike or something like that, right? Have you seen the new series or
Picard?
No, there's Picard, and then there's the Star Trek Discovery
with Captain Pike. Oh, really?
Yeah, there's like a whole. It just came out with the first one.
Wait, Discovery, so but that's not Pike. Oh, okay.
No, the new Discovery. One. There's a new one. Anyway, they're new. They just did the first episode last week. I think the second episode.
Okay, good.
But if you're, and then there's a woman, Mihila, I'd love to introduce you to. She's like a Trekkie nerd too. She'd love all of this. Okay. She went on that Star Trek cruise. You know, there's like a cruise of all these Trekkies, you know, in Florida or something like that. But you guys would be great for each other.
Hey, I started a sort of like web TV show inside of his Nova's game. He started a new version of the game, the final test. And so I'm doing kind of a day-by-day assessment, but that game is good, man. I mean, I'd love you to play sometime, but just anyway, just to let you know about that.
So the idea behind it is with lore, and with each person coming in, you know, we have all these episodes. So it's almost like a personalized collective reality television.
Well, and hopefully you can get some time while you're away to pop in, because I think that also adds to it as you're popping around the world. To sort of check in and do the updates.
Sorry, for what?
Well, while you're traveling around, just to kind of check in a little bit.
Yeah. No, I'll be available. We'll actually be in the same time zone too.
Okay.
Similar time zone.
Okay. do you know Canva? Do you ever use canva.com?
Yeah, that name sounds familiar. Yeah,
It's
I
a
think so.
graphic design program, and it changed my life because you can do multiple pages and you can share easily. But I was using Illustrator and Word, and I couldn't find the right program to write the manual. And Canva, it's it. So I'm doing all the new manual stuff in this Canva program. And that's huge for me because I felt blocked there for years. I just didn't have the right program.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. The difficult thing with it is exporting it is a pain in the ass. So you can't export it to Keynote. So you can only deliver it all online. You can't run it off in offline mode.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you're right there.
No, we did a pitch deck and we had to redo the whole thing because the first person did it in Canva, and then we needed to be able to edit it and everything. And then if you're sharing a document with multiple people editing and on Macs and everything, in like a deck that you can send to people, it's they kind of lock you into their whole ecosystem.
Oh, okay. Well, for me, it's working great. So
okay, but then for you right now, what are your do you have any summer plans, or what are you up to?
well, no, like everything, like my main thing is get the card sets ready. That's get the manual done, get the card sets ready, get everything so I can sell 250 of them. I'm thinking of selling a program that's 2,000. So I mean, that's $500,000. That changes my reality. And I think I'll look at how to integrate that with what we're doing in terms of the whole setup. Because
but your card sets are the value cards and the
convo cards and 4 lenses: harmony, synergy, flow, and choice. So, but it's in 4 boxes. So I'm getting a sort of like a kind of like a box like that with 4 things in it. Nice version. And once that's done, plus a manual, then I've got something tangible, but then there needs to be training that goes with it. And I think,
and then are you doing like the boards and everything too, or
it'll come with some, like each manual is almost like, here's a great exercise. Like the manuals are just a whole bunch of exercises that you can do with the cards, and there's almost unlimited exercises. So like the new paradigm toolkit is maps, game boards, card sets, process, and software. But then it's kind of like, it just depends which tools you put together. I want to put together like a basic facilitators kit that has, enough things that you can do tons of stuff with it, and have like a $2,000 thing online. And then that's going to raise me my money to get everything going.
And then what?
Then sell another set of card set. Like that's 250. I want to sell 2 million card sets like within about 3 to 5 years. I want this to be like across the planet. And then it's all the other ideas that we have. This thing is in the background because it changes how people think, create value systems. I mean, there's a lot in that card set. Like for kids, families, businesses, it's a totally new way of, and divination, like the whole idea of using divination to do things. People love it. Like they freaking love it.
Is that my side or your side, or
Ding. Yeah, no, I've been like getting up at 6, working till 9 or 10 on the manual, and playing his game in the background.
what? Nova's game?
Yeah, it just got super like the tool gave me the focus. And then as soon as I got the tool, I just started pounding the stuff out.
Which tool?
The Canva.
The tool
Canva, yeah.
Okay. For the manual.
Yeah. So like I've got I'm starting with basics. I've got like all 6 decks done, which are just memory things. You see the card, you see the definition. Then the next thing is going to be now actionable things that you can do with the things. And then there's all the different little maps you can make with them. Then there's all the different game boards. Like there's a hell of a lot of work to do, but at least I've got what I need to do it before I didn't. And I'm thinking that 144, I save 144 card sets for people who want to build the shared knowledge community. And then to have, let's say, again, something like Le Ciel, where you take them through the program, but you do the training in the way that, you know, learning from Le Ciel, and do it in a way where an actual shared knowledge community is built and everyone has a card set before they start. And then you just take them through processes of how to use it. And then at the end of the 9 months, you've got an actual shared knowledge community of 144 people.
Are you in Vancouver City, or how
Vancouver.
in the city?
Yeah. I mean, and I have a space in Duncan, which is about 5 hours away, with a lady who wants, you know, who have a satellite of the School of Conscious Communication. She has maps I painted in her parking stalls outside, had an unconscious, conscious, and super conscious map. And she's really into everything that I got. And
Well, I've got a guy that can make really beautiful wood inlaid stuff, or even recycled plastic from bottle caps stuff. I mean, really, I'll send you a link to his thing. He's got a place now called the Bali Design Center.
Is he in Vancouver?
No, he's in Bali.
Okay.
What's keeping you in Vancouver right now? Anything, or?
Well, I don't have a passport. You can't travel in Canada without a vax pass still.
You're not vaccinated?
No.
Are you planning to, or no?
No, not even close.
Just because you're afraid that it might kill you or something, or?
There's about 30 reasons not to, and I don't see many to.
And then you don't have a passport.
Don't have a passport right now. I can get one. I mean, at some point, I think people are going to Mexico now. It's just you can't fly within Canada, but I think you can leave Canada.
Can you fly back into Canada without a vaccine, or?
Yeah. I watched it. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is just fake. Like they say you can't, but I've seen videos of somebody flying in and just saying no to everything and just walking home, and it's all mandatory, which isn't law. It just means if you don't give your consent, you don't have to do it. Fundamentally. Why? What are you thinking?
No, I have a nice base in Bali. Could house you and everything. But let me just.
I mean, my idea was I want to get sort of like the card set up. So, you know, the guy, so like an order comes in, it's done, it's money's paid, and I'm not touching it, you know, like then I can move around with a laptop. So I'm aiming at being.
So you're dealing with drop shipping and all this other stuff and everything.
Yeah. Because it can be done, so I don't have to touch it.
What price point are you selling it at?
Well, right now, like I'm thinking 300 without training, and again 2,000 with training.
300 US?
Yeah, 300 or maybe Canadian US. Yeah. Depends, like, you know, if there's 200,000 made, you know, you're going for a broader market, then it'd be very different. Right now, it's very select and very few. So, and I think what I'm seeing is without training, you know, I think people just can't, you know, they got to get training with it. Until like I sort of figure out a game board and rules, which are very simple as just like a take home kind of game kind of thing.
This is something you should learn from Nova.
What's that?
Because right now you're still kind of in your head with all of this, versus what he's been doing for the last year is building a community of testers to play test it, to figure out all the changes and all the, you know, he's doing iterations on all of this before going commercial. Because you have to know, do you have an audience? What's their pain point? What's their price point and all this other stuff? And what's their experience of it? I mean, you've got your vision of it, but what he's doing right now is he started out with his vision, but then as more people play through it, appreciate it, and all of this other stuff, it's looking for its thing, right?
For
So,
sure, for sure. But
and
it's,
so,
but
you
there's
know,
quite a, just there's a difference between a software that you can actually play versus, you know, that my game without the manual wasn't even at isn't able
right.
to be given to
Yeah,
people.
no, you have to get that together. But then, you know, where I was throwing at you before here was kind of design. You have really good design and all this to make it nice compared to, you know, I think I showed you before, it's still here, but like all these other kind of decks compared to like Taro and all of these things. And so,
Yeah.
you know, having a good design, but then having a, you know, here's your manual and a book and explaining it in ways that people can understand and all of this. But all of this is tying into then play testing it with a bunch of people to make sure that it works, they understand things and everything, and it's all easy peasy smooth. Just like what you want with the shipping, you want, you know, minimizing the friction for them to get it, unwrap it, understand it, and then use it, and then benefit from it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I have tested it for over 10 years in different ways, not at, you know, huge numbers, but enough to know that
with the product, with the price point and everything.
True.
Who is that target market? Who is the person? You know, it's like, you know, it was fun. I flew to Hong Kong on a flight with the guy sitting next to me was a buyer for Walmart. And so, you know, they're looking at Walmart products, stocking Walmart. And they have this notion, if you're in Walmart, there's, I guess the inside thing is Bubba. You know, so they have this guy Bubba, you know, it was this guy kind of in the South, you know, he's got his Range Rover, he's a hunter and everything. And so this whole Bubba, they're, you know, they know what he eats for breakfast, they know what TV shows he watches and everything. It's like, what would Bubba want? And so they've got this archetypal Bubba in their head that they're buying all these products and designing for. So you have to know who that person is that's buying your thing, what they eat, you know, where do they go, what magazines do they read, and all of this. And understanding that will help you hone your marketing. Otherwise, you're just marketing is in making people aware of it, and everything is going to be the next thing.
I mean, I did a reading 2 days ago with this woman in her 40s. She's very capable, doesn't have a structure to do her online course. We did one session of 7 steps of a spell for each. She loved it, went over really well. I can send you actually what we came up with. But I really see like probably women between 40 and 60 that are entrepreneurs that are looking to get better in communication as kind of like low hanging fruit.
Yeah, connecting them with their intuition and stuff. Because right now they're all using like Taro and everything, I think.
For sure.
You know, so.
And I've seen.
But I thought the strength for your thing is to bring it into the corporate market.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's that's the most likely one. I guess it's more my I don't distaste for the mentality, but I think I'd rather work with kids. I'd rather work with like young teens that are sort of geniuses or 20 somethings that want to change the world. I really get along with that mentality. And I would like to like empower them and teach them this corporate mentality. I personally, I don't.
I think if I talked to, I talked to you. So, you know, my dad died.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I still have a bunch of people I'm dealing with right now, but my focus, I think, you know, with the paths, are your parents still around or no?
My mom.
So with my dad dying, it's kind of like it's like and I have kids too. So I see it as a passing of a baton.
Mm.
And so while your parents are alive, or my dad was alive, you know, there's Ukraine, there's COVID and all this, but you know, they're still around. So there's like a tent pole, I guess, you know, they're covering things. But then when they go, it's all on you. And so you can really kind of feel the weight of the world a bit. And then the metaphor I had for this was baseball. So, baseball game, they're playing the game and there's the bullpen. And I'm writing about this too. But then, with my father's passing, it's almost like there's that moment in a game where the manager walks to the mound and has a conversation with the pitcher, and then the pitcher, walks back to the dugout, and then they find one of the relief pitchers and they send them in to finish out the game. And so I see the passing of my father kind of like, so before I was doing a lot of stuff, it's like just throwing the ball around in the bullpen, but now you're on the mound, and so like every moment counts and everything, and every pitch counts. So and then the idea is to do the best that you can until you get relieved, and then it goes to your kids. So there's the whole link within a chain thing. But then with that, and then looking at my own retirement and knowing that time is limited and different people have different objectives and everything is for me right now, I'm looking to, and this is just an idea, just focusing my efforts on people that are kind of post midlife, financially secure, where they know why they're here. They know their mission in life. And for me, that's like the sweet spot. And then it's just really, why are you here? What are you here to do? How can I help you? How can you help me? And, and I don't have to worry about funding or anything like that. It's just about the work and then getting things done. And so,
yeah. Yep.
Then because I feel like I'm with my retirement and I'm in that position. So and then with more freedom now, I've stepped down from the master's program. So I have, even something like the master's program, although it didn't take a lot of work, it's still like baggage on the brain. You're just, it's like
for sure
CP cycles.
For sure.
And so with the kids independent now, and my wife is doing her things and stuff, it's for me it's just family and what I'm here to do. And so and I figure after teaching at the university for 20 plus years, I've kind of paid my dues, working with next generation, did the best that I can, kind of given the reality of the situation. Now it's really time to, you're not in the bullpen anymore, you're on the mound. And, it's the ninth inning and we're down a whole bunch of runs. And so.
Got to throw some strikes.
Well, and then for you, I mean, just, even it's been almost 2 years now, I think we've known each other, from the Denise gatherings, with Mark Wagnon early on in, it's almost like COVID era, we're like COVID friends. And then I guess, that period where you wanted me to get Graham and you and Nova like a laptop or something like that, and we're upset. Hey, you can afford this. Why aren't you doing this? And then you're, I think, remember for you, you were trying to save the trees for a while, right? There was the planetary guardians, and then the forests in Canada, and just the concern of, I think, the old growth or whatever, these trees that are hard to replace, they're cutting them down. I think you were campaigning pretty active. I mean, that was like a big part of your life.
Yeah, at different times in my life, I've jumped into strong campaigns. Yeah. I mean, that's the end, not being able to bring my work into that because I didn't have the tools yet. And the worst people to organize are activists. They don't want.
Right, the
worst people to organize are activists. I mean, it's just such a different culture. It's very grounds, self-organizing, You got to be like, it's very different from what I want to create. Because like
What do you mean? What's your insight from that? What do you mean by that?
well, if you look at, the people that win are the people that are usually in, they're the judges are paid, the cops are paid, the lawyers are paid, everyone's paid who's sort of, like, say, eradicating these forests, and all the people who are defending the forest, they're not getting paid. So everyone's there on their own dime. No, and there aren't usually a lot of resources. But in this situation, which is probably the best I've ever seen, is communities start to contribute. People start to show up. Like, it's a beautiful thing to see, because it's very grassroots, self-organizing, and a lot of people on Vancouver Island want to protect the forest a lot. So, this was the second biggest sort of uprising in Canada's history. And I went there a little bit, but I was watching more from the sidelines. And I did some things with media, but I realized whenever I jump in, I lose everything. Like,
What do you mean you lose everything?
If you have a home, or if you have an apartment, you got a job, like whatever it is you have, because it's a different, you have to sacrifice so much to go there and be there, and then you're not paid, and then you're just scrumping by in whatever way, and then whatever you had going on the side, because of my online life or some other, it just falls apart. So I said to myself, I'm never doing that. I have to keep my work paramount, because I'll die with it not being done. So I never jump in full time anymore. But I'm looking to create a much larger thing that has actual leverage, like the whole
No, but
idea.
did the trees get saved and everything, or was it successful?
No.
So they chopped them all down anyways, or?
Well, it's almost, I'm not even sure. Like, there could be a 2-year moratorium on it. The thing is, you just never know. Like, the most of the protests have stopped. There are trees still going down. Definitely trees are still going down. There isn't the type of protest as it, I mean, it's so hard to keep it going, because again, like, it just wears people out. Just wears them out. And then COVID happened, right? I mean, well, COVID happened just as it was happening. Yeah. I mean, and it's heartbreaking. Like, it's like to be there and to give everything you have, and then to still lose, which usually happens. I mean, I've never been in anything that has won, because they bring in something in Canada called the injunction. As soon as they bring an injunction, that's it. They just arrest everybody and throw you in jail and do what they're going to do, no matter what.
But I think you can get land. Do you know Attila? Have you met Attila?
Yeah, a couple times.
Yeah, I think he's still around there. And then
I thought he left.
no, he's got land, and he was saying that you can get land there or something. Nova says you can get land there too if you're a citizen or something. I don't know.
I don't know about that. I mean, I know there's mining rights, and there used to be a sort of snag that if you lived on the land for a couple of years, there was something you could do. But I mean, most of the land is crown land. The Queen and the Crown. They just, it's a colony, and they still own it.
So the other thing right now, I'll just share with you. I'm going to send you something that this guy Brad DeGraff did. I may introduce him to you too, Brad. But I have my friend, with me retiring and everything, I'm setting up this thing called the Metaverse Research Institute. My friend in Finland has like a server farm that he's willing to host a server for me, and they've got a supercomputer there and everything too. Wow. And right now, I'm in my office right now, and we have a physical campus, for the university. But in this metaverse realm, as long as you have a server on the internet, you've got unlimited space, because you can just build all this stuff in VR and everything. And so I convinced him to work with me, and we're setting up this metaverse research center.
Okay.
The idea is to build experts from around the world. And so Brad is based in, I think he's in Sebastopol, California. And he's been doing a lot of like social graph mining and networking and analysis. And so he's got this whole thing on proxies as well. So if I trust you for communications, you can put your trust to other people, and then that can kind of extend, and so you can find out who the influencers are and everything, who are the trusted people in the network. Then as people engage, you can find out who knows who, and how do you manage trust. And so you might trust me with certain things, but you wouldn't trust me with other things. And so for people to then, make that a little more explicit or infer it from the communications information. And then what he would like to do, looking at the big problems of the world today, is you're not going to solve it with current structures. So how do we get the top experts and the people connected, all around the world to address these big, regenerative issues? So that's like right up your alley and stuff. And then he's building tools, and I've known of him since my USC days. So it's like 30 years or so.
Oh, wow.
And then I knew him when it was John Petty Research, and then he just showed up through a conversation I had with my friend Ken Jordan. But I see Meta as a way of building these communities, but then he's building like tools, and then with the server stuff, is we have like that computing infrastructure and the virtual space to like build, like imagine like a research lab with all the top people, indexed, and who they are, and meeting in VR and all this stuff. And so all of the communication stuff that we're doing together, I think is critical, because you're going to have different people, different vernacular, different perspectives, different worldviews, and how do you kind of
frame it
to work together and not trigger each other. The hard thing is not to trigger each other. And so all of this related to, the other thing with my parents dying, or my father dying, was, I try to save marriages, right? So I travel around the world when people are, just to try to give them this framework. It's good to be alive. Here, I'm just in my office. It's good to be alive. Where is this conflict coming from? All the stuff that I just shared with you.
Yeah.
Where I bring it back to? I used to tell people, and I still do, I went around the world, what's a commonality in man? What's the thing that brings everyone? What's the common thing that we can all agree upon? Everyone's born, everyone dies. While you're alive, you have to do it yourself. As you live your life, you build these beliefs. But where all this comes from is when I was 10 years old, my parents got divorced. And I know my mom really well, and I know my dad really well, and they're just strong emotion tied to story, and then they rub each other the wrong way in different worldviews, and they can't, the container, the forces that keeping us together are weaker than the forces pushing us apart, which is kind of why they split. So as a young kid with parents that's 10 years old, where his parents are divorced, something within me was always hoping that they would get back together. I think that's kind of the dream that people that come from broken families have. And it didn't happen. And so I was resentful of my stepfather and everything. But it was one of those things where they wouldn't talk to each other, even after 50 years. But for me, as long as I did really well in school, and as I excelled and got a PhD and everything, my mom would be happy and proud, and my dad would be happy and proud. And although they're not talking to each other, it was a way to get them into, like a good feeling thing. And it was within my power. It was within my means to be able to do that. And I think that's what drove me to do the PhD and be a professor and everything. And I think it drove me to understanding consciousness and what is it? All of that is just me trying to figure out how to save my parents' marriage.
Yeah.
And so even this framework of, if I say I'm just sitting on a blue sofa here, and there's no argument, all of that is and then, gratitude and desire feel very different somatically. all of this is just, things, insights that come from trying to understand how could I get my father and mother back together. So these are all just some things related to the death of my father.
Mm.
Is this making sense or logical? Or
Yeah, I mean, you're just being vulnerable and sharing.
But this whole work, whole life, just, and I arguably, the reason I'm still married is because my wife and I are very different. But through going through this with my father and mother, and the real sad thing, that just breaks my heart. I shared all this with my mother, and you know what she said to me, which just drove the knife in deeper? You know what she said? She said, after they divorced, after my mother left my father waited for 5 years, hoping that she would come back with the kids.
Wow.
But the way she framed it was that, he didn't pay child support and everything. And then her whole thing is, no, I can prove I can make it on my own without him. And so I was like saying, hey, as a kid, I'm hoping. He's like, no, I wasn't going to make that happen. And then to hear that my dad waited for 5 years, just hoping that she would come back. That for me is sad, because this is something that I was looking forward to and everything too, which I think is the underpinning of this whole resentment I have with my mother.
Because she didn't try, and if she did try, maybe there was a chance. But
it was painful. I mean, it's stubborn. It's this whole, and then for her too, it's like, no. And I talked to her about this. No, you have to be respected. They have to respect you, and respect is very important. But then respect is one of these boundary things. But if I'm married, and you have kids and stuff, you have to throw it. All that has to go out the window. Pride, respect, all this. It's we're here, and what's love? What is love? Is it a transactional thing? What is love? And then for me right now too is, even in absence of understanding, is what's best for the kids. And then if we have different opinions of what's best for the kids, where do we find that middle ground? Is it just my way or your way? How do we resolve this? And then for me, the lesson has been, since I'm in Hong Kong and my wife is kind of like a tiger mom, is it's important to keep a stable space. And any way is fine. It's just like any religion. Any religion is fine, but it's just living reverently and having a stable environment. So just sharing some of these insights, but all of this is things that motivated. So this trajectory that I'm on, these little things cause you to, or these fundamental problems that you're trying to solve, what's the genesis of it? I still remember, when it almost brought me to tears when they brought it out in a metal thing, but I used to reward myself. My dad used to reward me by going to Howard Johnson's and having a chocolate ice cream. So why do I eat ice cream and all that? I think it comes from that. And why do I like musical theater? There was a production of Puss in Boots when I was in 2nd grade. That's what got me into theater and media and everything. So these little events that happen early on plant the seeds, and then to be able to then connect the dots and then use that to bring in forgiveness, appreciation for what happened, reconciliation, integration, and understanding. Which is what the intersubjective does, right? And so connecting with another person And so then by sharing it in an authentic way and connecting with it, I don't have to live it. I can have that experience through kind of your experience. And so that's where, for me, even looking at a master's program and the whole meta philosophy, it's just creating a container that's agreed upon that then brings people together to create moments like this to facilitate transformation. It's just a context that brings people together, right? So when you go to a university, you're saying, oh yeah, that's where I learned how to do these design these circuits or something. And that's a part of it, but you could have read that out from a book or online. But what you really remember were the experiences, and the relationships that came from that. Right? So that's the valuable thing that will carry you through life.
So when do you decide to go traveling?
Well, I kind of decided, and then my son, so the exciting thing now, my older son, and I'm going to try to get the younger son, there's this consensus conference in Austin, Texas. And so my son's, so it'll be like me and the boys. So
nice.
Yeah, so that's like a big motivation for that. And then I'm going to see Paul, my friend Paul in Switzerland. And so we're going to see what we're going to do together. And then the rest is still fairly open. I have a bunch of people that wanted me to do a caravan run and everything, but I think I'm going to do this one for me for a bit. We'll see. But there are other people that say, hey, can we travel with you, run a workshop? Can we give talks and everything? So, and I'm part of this festival thing. And right now I've got collections of people in different cities. So, but right now, like Helsinki, Paris, London, Amsterdam, Barcelona, Ibiza, Vienna, Naples, kind of Geneva and Dubai. Those are the cities where people want me to kind of go. And then the Azores, but that one's like, I found it's pretty far and you can only fly through Lisbon. That one I have to make sometime. My friend has like a whole big piece of land there. He's building like an innovation hub in the Azores.
The Azores.
Yeah.
So in Dubai, is that to do with that mystery school the guy's setting up?
I'll be with him, but I'm there. I'm actually giving a keynote at a conference that's happening on the 26th to the 28th. I'll probably talk about Meta. I'll probably talk about kind of the NFT stuff as well too. Getting real with Web3.
Well, sounds like you're going to have a pretty awesome time. You deserve it after everything you've been through.
Too is, part of it, the thing that's keeping me here is there's a chance my daughter might go to Brighton College. And if she does, in the September, she'll leave home and we'll be completely empty nested. And, with that, each day at home is precious and everything too. And so part of all of this is kind of life slipping away. And so, and you're going to let go of everything too, but then how do you make decisions? And so for me, it's, like you, kind of the trees are your life work, right? And so I have a life work that I'm kind of trying to bring to the world. And then there's family. And so I guess our difference is I have 4 kids and a wife. And so the advantage for that is that provides stability for me and everything. I'm very grateful to my wife for helping with all of that. Very, very grateful. But then it's like time and how do you use it? Relationships, as you're on your way out and they're on their way in. That thing. It's interesting. I'm just your take. I think I shared this with you. But when I did the warm spaces with Shane, the question he asked me was, if you could spend time and say something to the younger version of yourself, what would you say?
Mm.
And for me, especially with kids, is I realized that there's nothing I could say because the younger version of me wouldn't have listened. Like whatever your dad said to you, actually the one thing he said to me was, even my mom, it was interesting because she said, hey, because of you, I didn't get a PhD. You have to get a PhD. So I don't know. Certain things they said kind of went through, but when you were young, you were probably a rebel as well too. If you were a teenager, is there anything you could have said to yourself that you would have listened and, changed your life or made your life different from where it was today?
I think, a big part of me wanted to meet someone who could, but I never met someone who could get through to me. Like I had basketball coaches, they just couldn't, like whatever my armor, my shell was too strong. And in the last 2 years, I met someone who's exactly like me, exactly to a T. And I got through to him, but I got through to him because I knew, there's, it's really hard to get through to people, right? Sometimes like the trust that you have to me, you have to show, you have to, I don't know, prove it first. But with him, I really proved a loyalty to him that he didn't deserve. And from that, he looked at me differently.
Well, I mean, you and I, we've had our moments. And then, we really, even the LCL thing, even though whatever, I'm like, hey, try this, and there were results. And so it's all.
Well, we were cosmically put together. I mean, I truly do follow synchronicity, and I follow the mystery in a sense. And I think when William put us in the kitchen, that was like a wizard putting two wizards together, and sort of seeing something in both of us, because he had spoken about you beforehand. He always spoke well of you. And I guess, and again, if I meet people, I find so many people, whether they say things that aren't true or whatever it is. So I have a tendency to test people, and that's like with you. That was my, okay, you say you're this, well, okay, here it is. And I can be a little bit maybe too forceful than most people know or are used to, because I guess I'm just, my social proprieties aren't quite as strong. You know what I mean? Like with what I've been through, most of my time has been as a rebel. So I'm not, I find a lot of people that are, they're attached to the social doctrine of the day. I mean, you're kind of a rare bird that you got a world, I think, a foot in both worlds. So you can travel in both worlds, but I certainly couldn't travel in your world. I'd be kicked out in 2 seconds. Because I mean, it's me, like if I come across the old paradigm, or if I come across a control mechanism, my natural tendency is to sort of fight or say something which you ordinarily wouldn't say. So
that's the trickster too, right?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't go through what I went through to kind of not sort of be able to, I don't know what you call it, but I just, every person, you got to, it just takes experience to find out who they are, but you got to put the time in. You really got to put the time in, and people either do or they don't. Like William, I probably last 2 years, I mean, me and him have a call, I don't know, once a month, once every 2 weeks, sometimes more, sometimes not, but there's some consistency of checking in, right? So he's one of a few people, and you're one, and I have, just like you probably have a lot more, but I have, quite a few that I build relationship with. And to me, that's where something real can happen, is, people who put time and effort into the long term. And and whatever you put forward as your higher end, I completely believe in. So, I mean, I've always put that higher than money or anything. I mean, I figure, we're here to serve, and whoever's serving with the highest intention of heart are the people that I admire. Purity of vision.
Wonderful. Yeah, so here we are again. So we'll see how all this plays out. So to wrap things up a bit, so we need to get like a statement of work
Okay,
kind of thing.
yeah, I got it
And
now.
And then I'll just get it done because I need to sign it, and then I have to get all this through here while I'm here and everything. That's that. And then that video, if you can send me the link, I will
Okay,
have Peter send you the link too, so that we can get the Meta stuff together. But I already told him, he thought it was just you and him and I, but I'm like, no, I trace the origins of the whole Meta project, which Peter came up with the name and everything. But I trace its origins back to that conversation I had with you. We were talking about like pulling another person in each time. Remember that?
yeah,
And so you've got that recording. So that's going to be part of the lore of this whole thing. And I'm in almost like blockchain. I'm just taking it, although it's my memory and everything. It's like, yeah, that's when it started officially, and then Graham was there and everything. And then, and you've seen me do that before. Well, I'll talk about someone and then pull them in, like Shane and stuff. But then for him, it's kind of articulated out what the two parts of the platform and the local experiment here, and local allows us to meet in person. But then the global part, I'll also send you Brad's manifesto, which I think you'll jive with. Happy to introduce you to him as well too.
okay.
So I'm looking at things on the global side. And then, yeah, the Meta and all this is mainly towards building a network of people, and then with our tool to provide the operating system that allow us to create the space and the trust without going through all the tests and challenges, so that we can kind of accelerate trust and build community quickly.
Okay, well, great to see you, Gino. And
All right.
Great to hear from you. And
All right.
I guess we'll talk whenever we talk.
All right. Well, let me know soon because I'd like this document.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay. Okay. Bye.